Welcome to another episode of the Grappling with Life podcast. I hope you guys are nice, refreshed and relaxed and chilling as much as I am. I feel good today. And I'm here with Ammar Akbar.
Yes.
From SPC Therapy. Welcome.
Correct. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you for coming and braving the London traffic. From Newham to, it's become ridiculous now, the traffic, bro. But barakallahu for coming. I'll just explain a little bit. Like, I came across your videos quite a while ago. And we joined TikTok. How long have you been on TikTok for? Maybe 3 months, something like that? Yeah. Not more than that, actually, maybe even 6 months. Actually, I joined TikTok as a civilian, not as a business, so as a civilian. Yeah. I come off it straight away, bro. I was like, bruv, it was like, because the algorithm hadn't hit what I like, innit? So it was just promoting all, the stuff. Yeah. So I'm looking for, I thought, is this what society is, bro? I thought, nah, akhi, bro. I signed out and I was like, no, never again, yeah? And then I just couldn't ignore it, bro. Like, it was just like, so we set one up for, we made it, I don't know why, when we first started, we made it a thing not to be on TikTok for some reason. I don't know why. Yeah. Actually, we do know why. It was a space where we didn't really see we fit in that space, if you know. Mm-hmm. But alhamdulillah, like, then we kind of like started to look at it and, we need to kind of be in this space. And then after, you start following people and that and stuff like that. And then your stuff started coming. And it was right up my alley, bro. So alhamdulillah, it was all about, health. And what I liked about yours was that it was very informational and straightforward, to the point. And a lot of the stuff that you were talking about obviously resonated. I don't know if you know or don't know, but we run a gym called Legion in East London, Leighton. And I'm always looking at, health. And I think I got interested in it, actually. Where I really got interested in health is around 2012, 13, no, maybe 13, 14, I gained a lot of weight. So I had that dad bod, bro, like really, really bad dad bod. Like, I'm a thin guy, like just to give you an example, when I got married, I was about 70 kilos. Yeah. Yeah, 70. I was thin, bro. And the way he raised his eyebrows, he goes, "Right, you're not 70 kilos now, bro." but yeah, like, as you can see, I'm not 70 kilos anymore. And obviously, there's a few factors, which is obviously body fat, and obviously, like, you gain muscle as you get older, innit? By that point, I really started to suffer from stress-related issues.
Okay.
So I started breaking out in hives. I thought I was dying. I thought I had cancer or something, bro. Like, my mind went there. Like I didn't realize. And you talk about this as well in your posts about stress. And at that point, I didn't have any idea about stress and like how it affects you and all this stuff. So I started breaking out in hives. I started panic attacks, heart palpitations. What else, bro? Like, I developed white coating in my mouth, like, candida. That's why I mentioned it before. And stomach cramps, like. So I was thinking, what is going on? So I went through this journey of, actually, stuff for like, it was about 2011, actually, sorry. It's before us, we started with Dr. Amar and Legion. So, but yeah, by that time. And I was like, I'm freaking out here. Like, what is going on with my body? And I was about 30 at the time, I think. Just touching 30. I feel like this is a consultation, but but I just wanted to give you an idea of where we are now, yeah. So what happened was I started looking into, I said, it's got to do something. I don't like taking medicine, and I don't like taking pharmaceutical medicine. And you go to the doctor, he's going to he can give you citalopram or whatever it is. Or not citalopram, there's depression medicine and all this stuff. I said, I don't want to be like that. I don't want to deal with all that, yeah. And I've got a martial arts background, so I've always like had affinity with, sports and fitness and stuff. So I thought, okay, the thing, diet, nutrition for me was like, I never had to, because I was always skinny. Do you understand? I never had to think about, losing weight or anything. But But that was the first ever time that I thought, oh my God, I need to lose weight. I looked at myself in the mirror. I was like, Habibi, you look like porridge in a Tesco bag, bro. Do you understand? Started getting. So that's when I started my journey of self-discovery, and I started looking at. I went on a paleo diet.
Yeah.
That was because for me, I didn't want to count calories, and I didn't want to do any of that. I thought, what's the quickest way to lose weight? And the thing is, I wasn't really training much. I wasn't doing any weight training or anything. And then subhanAllah, I saw the weight loss, but then my muscle mass started to. I think my body started eating itself or something.
Yeah.
And the one thing I started developing was severe cramps in my legs because of the sharp decline in carbohydrates. Allahu A'lam what the problem was. I think it was electrolytes or whatever it is. And then alhamdulillah, I started losing weight, but then I've just been yo-yoing. And then eventually I met Dr. Ammar, and he put me on the right track. He was like, listen, this is what you do, this is what you do, this is what you do. You've got to eat on time. You have to make sure you eat the right type of foods. You have to do weight training. And alhamdulillah, since then, I'm not, by the way, when I started dieting, some of the stress related problems started to fade, but it wasn't completely. But when I started training properly, like weekly, that's when it started to, I realized that when I got stressed, if I go in the gym and I come out, the symptoms went. So, like I said, so when I went into your TikTok, I was like, yeah, this guy, I knew we need to get him on. And I saw you at someone's wedding. I saw the back of your head, but there's so many people. I didn't have a chance to kind of, that's why I was like, you know what, let me just message him. And alhamdulillah, he came today, and I appreciate that. That was a very long introduction and a lot about myself. This is now about you, inshallah. So yeah.
Yeah.
Tell us a bit about yourself, Akhi.
Yeah, so from a young age, always played football. I tried, every young kid's dream to become a footballer. So I did play at a decent level. Nutrition was in my mind, but I didn't know what I was doing. That's one thing I could tell you. I did know one thing that was back in my mind, that it was never about demonizing one type of food. I was always had this understanding that I need a bit of everything. The body needs a bit of everything. And I always knew that it's the food that you get at home will feed you the best. The outside food, people are not going to really take care of it like your mother does, end of the day. I had that back in my mind, so I knew that. But what I was doing is that I was overtraining. And although my body was developing from age of 14, I was developing and growing. But one thing I would notice is that there were times where my legs would get really heavy, and I didn't really know why. And I didn't know that even after I completed that journey of being trying to become a footballer. But I always knew that my legs became tired and I just couldn't carry myself anymore. So my level would decline during the match. I would start off brilliant. I would be like the best player there. But afterwards, after maybe 20 minutes, whatever, I would decline. But I never knew that. I never knew why. Now I know. That's the thing. So I was always into football and always football, just sacrificing. My whole life was football. Because of that, I always had the interest of studying something around sports as well. Didn't know what, but I wanted to just study it. I want to go into the deep sciences of exercise. And that led me to study, or in fact, before that, I was in college doing football. We did this, they used to, I think they still do. They have these academy schemes, or you could say programs, where you are studying and you are also part of the academy. It's not an academy with a pro team or anything like that, but it's an academy as part of that college. So you're studying and you're playing at the same time. You have your games, you're training like somebody who's part of an academy, and then you have your assessments, whatever. After, when you finish, you could go further. You could go into applying for scholarships in America, or you go to uni, as long as you get the requirements. So that was me. I got the requirements. I ended up going to Kingston University to study exercise sciences, and that was it, just exercise science or sports science. Can't remember what it was called. But I dropped out because I had an opportunity to go to America to play scholarship, basically play football, soccer scholarship. And I did the hard work myself. I refused to pay an agency to basically get me out there. I recorded myself. I recorded my training. I emailed, I think, maybe 1,000 different coaches, putting myself out there. I done my SATs, everything. I got the requirements so I could just go to America and study. I had everything. I had everything in my hand. And then there were some issues where I said, you know what, I cannot leave England. I have to stay here. Contacted the coach over there. Not going to disclose the university, but I contacted the coach and said to them, look, I can't come. They had my name in their roster, everything. Everything sorted. Good. They gave me like 70% scholarship. That means I get to go to America, study what I like, play football, have my accommodation, food, everything for £3,000 a year. Imagine what you're paying right now and what I had to, even back then, for the standards, for the amount of fees that you had to pay, it was still a great deal.
So that was the university level, right?
Yeah, university level. So they call it, you either play Division 1 or Division 2. These are the two levels that you play in America. And this university was in Division 2. Doesn't matter, because over there, for basketball, it matters a lot. But for football, it doesn't really matter. As long as you're D1 or D2. D2 is even better because D1, you expect like Harvard and Yale and those universities be in it. But in D2, where all the proper footballers are going to be. So I got a D2 opportunity, but I didn't go. So I said, forget that. And then I ended up looking for a university that was taking students at that time. It was quite late during clearance. And
So I'm guessing you were roughly about 18 at the time.
Yeah,
right? Yeah,
18, 19 years. I went to
because you dropped out. Yeah, you dropped out.
I was there for a while,
Okay,
and then I think I almost completed a year.
So it's then September after.
Yeah.
Right. Okay. Yeah.
So I said, no, I'm not going back. So that's when I worked hard to get my opportunity. When I got the opportunity, I was about 21 years old. I had the opportunity. I said, now I'm preparing myself to get ready to go. Ended up not going, and then went to another university to study the stuff I wanted to study initially anyway.
So can I ask you a couple of questions?
Yep.
So about D2.
Mm-hmm.
So because wrestling has a similar thing in America, yeah.
Oh yeah.
So you got D2, D1 wrestlers, and then you got like national championship and all that stuff. But is that like, would you say that's the soccer program, the football program is a feeder for MLS basically? So you go through this, and then that's the progression route you go on to get into the MLS basically.
Kind of, but for football is a little bit different because everything's kept in terms of the stats of the player. Everything's kept, and if you stand out, then you will get scouts come and watch you. Otherwise, as a player who was there, what you're meant to be looking for is opportunities to play in the summer development league. So when the university finishes, they have another league that starts up, and in that summer development league, you're playing against the academy players of all the top MLS teams in America.
Okay.
So you're meant to be playing there. You don't have to, but if you want to make it, then you do. You should, because you can get picked from there, especially if your numbers are good, like your stats are good, and they keep all the stats. Everything's recorded, because the big NCAA, the NCAA, sorry, they keep everything, like everything about the athlete is there, including your eligibility and things like that. So you have to apply through that to get.
Yeah, they're quite cool in America. They've got like a website. You can type in your name or the athlete's name. You can track them through the whole journey. Which is quite amazing, man.
Yeah. So the stats are there, and if the coach likes you, they sees everything, they'll come watch you. And if you're good enough, then you can have a good opportunity. A friend of mine did the same thing. He ended up playing professional in Denmark or Sweden, one of those countries anyway. But because of injuries and things like that, he obviously had to call it a day. But he had his fair share of the professional game. He was good here. We was actually, there were times we were playing for the same team, and we were on this journey to go out there at the same time. But he went a little bit earlier and he completed the whole journey, and then he took it all the way. and well done to him, because a lot of the things I was following his advice,
Oh.
like how to get the whole opportunity without going through an agency, because the agencies would charge you about 2-3 grand, and this is just to showcase you to the coaches that are coming. It's not even guaranteed that you can get a scholarship. But what we did, we literally went directly to the universities. We emailed them and said, look, this is me, this is who I am, this is my SATs, these are my grades, this is my transcript, everything. And for any young individual who is interested in football, who's currently looking at opportunities like that, and they're thinking, oh, I can't pay the university's fees here for whatever purpose that is, this is your way. This is your way. And I don't know how your parents would feel about allowing you to go abroad, but this is almost like a way out of the whole dilemma you could be facing, especially if you're good enough, especially if you've already played for an academy here. So that's the sort of path I was on. And then I didn't take it. Went to a university here.
Can I ask one last question about football, yeah?
Yes.
Just about, why didn't you apply for Arsenal, Chelsea, West Ham? Did you feel like it was like harder to break into those things? Is that what it was?
It's very difficult. I saw, like I had, you could call it a trial, you could say, for QPR was one of them.
Yeah.
Queen's Park Rangers, one of them. And really and truly, by the time I had those sort of opportunities, I was already 16. That's too late.
You're practically middle-aged, isn't it? They don't even look at you
for football, that's too late.
You're playing the guys that like Foden played 16 in the Premier League.
Exactly, that's too late. So
I mean, Zach had trials, didn't it, with Gillingham before he tore out your ACLs, bro. Yeah. So he had a similar opportunity. Even me, bro, I had trials for West Ham and stuff like that.
Yeah.
But you know what I found? I found that because football is an ancient institution in the UK. Yeah, there's a lot of, I don't know about now, but even now you got guys, for example, recently who got like monkey chance at him. Was it Lukaku? Was it Vinicius?
Yes,
Lukaku had it as well.
Oh, did he? Okay.
I think it was in the Champions League. I think anyway, like and Mika Richard was talking about it. He goes, how there's Thierry Henry there and Mika Richard's on a panel, and Mika Richard goes, how is it that Henry is sitting here and he had the same stuff going on 20 years ago, and now we're talking about the same thing? So you see that it hasn't really, doesn't look like it's changed, bro. You know, football clubs have changed, but I feel like the barrier to entry is so, like a lot of the times you got to know someone. You got to know a scout, your dad needs to know someone, it's very difficult to get in.
It's interesting because my dissertation for my first sort of, when I stayed with the university, so London Metropolitan University, that was the university I went to when not going to America. At the end, I decided to basically do my whole project, you could say my final year project on this matter.
No way.
Yeah, because it meant something. It meant something to me. And I thought, okay, so why is it? And then at the end, it came down to not just one factor, many factors, including racism is there. So you would have coaches that are instructed to go out there not to specifically pick Asian footballers.
Seriously?
Yeah.
How did you find this out?
There was actually a documentary on this. I think it was Rio Ferdinand.
Oh, no, Anton Ferdinand. Yeah, I remember watching it. Okay, yes.
So he spoke about this, and one player told him he was really good, county player, Asian, I think he's from Pakistani background. And he was told by the scout, because he approached the scout like, oh, how comes this is like, why am I not getting anywhere? Well, like, what was wrong? And he was told, the reason why we're not picking Asian players is, well, because we're told not to by the club.
Just barefaced like that.
Yeah. And it's sad, one thing. The second thing is that they have their reasons why. Their club. Believe it or not, nutrition also comes into this. Because they believe the Asian players, they don't have a good sort of a balance in terms of their nutrition. They're not going to sort of adapt. Yeah, they're not going to develop to the type of a player that we want them to be. And, so all of these things matters for them. So that's one thing. So they think they're not going to be physically strong to be able to compete, etc. Other reasons will come down to, they say, oh, they're not going to have that family support because of the cultural reasons. they don't take sports serious. That's other reasons. And there's also not many role models. But then how do you expect to have the role models when they're not given the opportunity anyway? So I don't know how that works.
Catch-22 kind of,
yeah. So there was multi sort of a factual reasons. And I went around basically interviewing and looking at sort of exploring this whole idea. Why do we not have players, and what factors do you think is influencing this? And at the end, it came down to a lot of it to do with racism and sort of lack of role models, and so it's just not
also
just
statistics as well.
Yeah,
the number of Asian people in the UK, and then from those, how many of those play football, and then from those who play football, how many actually go? So there's obviously like, and then there's on top of that, there's that barrier of getting in as well. So it's almost impossible, like, you know. So the guys that actually get in. Like I can't even name me. There's Michael Chopra, and then there's Riz. What was his name? Played for Bradford. His name and Fulham. I can't remember his name. And
I've been so away from football because I used to know these players and whatever. But I've been so
and then
far
there's
away
the Chowdhury, who's half Bengali, and half Jamaican, right? But I, you know what you said about physicality. I experienced that. Because I was North African, they kind of look at you like so black players, you know, North African players, you know, like they look at you because you look at your body, says, okay, he's tall, he's got wide shoulder. That does play a massive, because the English game is so physical, but you can't lump all Asians into one thing. Does that make sense? Because they think, Asian players, they're not really big, but Ashley Cole's tiny, bro. So's Gary Neville, bro. So's do you see what I'm saying? So it's
Messi, the world's best player.
Messi, exactly. Wasn't he given HGH, bro?
Yeah, so he was.
He was given
very expensive.
Yeah,
Barcelona did invest a lot in him.
Yeah, I thought that was a myth, and then an article came up saying he was actually given human growth hormone or something like that because he was tiny.
He's gone through a few things,
a few therapies.
A few therapies. Therapies there, but
so I mean, if the talent is there, then you know, subhanallah. So I interrupted you. So you were saying so. Like you were switching from, so you obviously the reason that you're not going must have been a very big reason why. So you switched from that whole kind of track of football. And then like, talk to me, like, how did you feel at that point? Like having to make that decision. How easy or how difficult was the decision?
I haven't shared this with many people, and I guess it would be nice to sort of let it sort of out there. One of the biggest things that driven me to sort of you could say stand by my decision and made it sort of known to me that this is a solid decision, you're not going wrong, this is absolutely the best decision you can make in your life, was the fact that I was not really practicing. And it was at that time in my life where I said, you know what, I'm staying here. So if I'm letting go of football, I let this thing drive me whole of my life. Like it literally from the age of 15 and onwards until, 20, 19, whatever, 4 years, this was my life. I'm going to let it go. And I'm going to focus on things which matters a lot more. And when you're sort of growing up, your mind is maturing. You're seeing other important things around you with family and things like that. So I saw the importance of family and how I missed so many events. I used to go on holidays, come back early because of my trials and whatever, things like that. So I thought to myself, I've missed out a lot. And it's like I've been blinded because this thing has taken my whole life. What's interesting here, this is the point I've made to another youngster, in fact, is that if you've seen the movie Matrix, the first one, and this same point actually was made as part of, there was an old documentary, The Arrivals, and they spoke about the whole process of whatever, not going deep into the government and stuff like that. I don't really care about that. But what I care about, that fantastic point that they've made about the lady in red. The lady in red, how you are, you're going through your life. Everything is sort of, you have your eye on one thing while everything else is going around you. You don't care, but your eye is on that one thing. And no matter what happens, your eye is still going to be on that one thing because you concentrate on one thing and you want that thing. And it's really beautiful. This is what you want. And you can see in the movie when Neon is he's just going around, he's discovering things. He's not really paying attention to anything else except that lady in red. When I saw that point, and I was watching around that time, I said, oh my God, football is my lady in red. I've missed out on so much, you know? And that's when I said, if this is the lady in red, and you can see at the end that lady in red turns into something else and it's actually bad for him. So I said, this is the lady in red and I must let it go. I must let it go and start bringing things together. And that's when I started to practice Islam, pay attention to Islam a lot better. You had a 20-year-old man, you could say, 21-year-old man.
1 second, I think the mic's gone off.
Or did I touch it?
Has the mic gone off? Yeah. If you just push the back in a little bit. See yeah, that's it.
Done?
I think so. Is it done?
Yeah.
Yeah, all right, cool.
So you had a 20-year-old man here who's not really practicing, doesn't really know how to, pray on whatever. That was embarrassing for me. So I said, this is where I'm going to start first. So I caught up. A lot of the things I had to catch up. So you could see when I start to pay attention to Islam, what Islam does to you, it tells you what real life is about. That this stuff is just games. These are all just fun and games. But this is what real life is about. When I got deeper into Islam and got the understanding of what the whole point of my purpose is on earth, I did not regret my decision. I said, I know exactly what I'm doing. And I'm going to take this further. Here's an interesting point. I wanted to take Islam further more than my university. I said, I'm going to give up. I'm going to drop out of this course as well. And I was come towards the end of my first year. I'm going to drop out and I'm going to go study Islam deeper. I'm going to, study Arabic. I'm going to go abroad, whatever, do it proper, come out as somebody who wants to influence and give da'wah and call people to Islam and draw them closer to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So what's interesting, I was studying a bit of tafsir at that time as well. My sheikh who's passed away now, rahimahullah. And I asked him, I said, what do you think about this decision? And I think what he told me there is the reason what I am today. And he said, Ammar, no matter what you do in your life, whatever it is, but do not be that person in the future where your family and your friends, they're all sitting in a circle. Everybody's gathering, everybody's talking. They're talking about their achievements. You're the guy there that wants to get out of the circle and is ashamed to talk about anything because you haven't achieved anything in life. He goes, do what you like. Whatever you think is right for you, but do not be that guy. When I heard that, I share this wherever I go. And that was the most powerful thing that I've heard. And I said to myself, first and foremost, you're starting things and you sort of finishing and you're not completing things. Islam's not about that. Islam is about conquering.
The mic's gone, so sorry, Akhibaf.
So yeah, the whole point about not being the guy in the circle where he doesn't talk about his achievements. And I thought to myself, hold on a minute. I'm starting things, not finishing them, letting them go. I don't want to be that guy that has that reputation. And also, what guarantees me right now for me to take Islam right now and he takes me far? There's a lot of catching up for me to do. There's a lot of foundations that I missed out on. And it's not like certain places going to open up a door for me. I don't have the finances for it. So let me complete my degree. And I'm going to do my best. And believe it or not, my results were not good. They were not, average. Sometimes even below average. But from that moment onwards, everything picked up.
Alhamdulillah.
So not only I ended up doing one bachelor's, I ended up doing a second bachelor's, I ended up doing master's, I ended up getting my qualifications in these other complementary therapy. I ended up sort of starting what you guys see on social media with SPC therapy, the videos, and I went deeper and deeper into my studies. And that paved the way for me to go deeper in terms of knowing how to help people from the core. And when people talk about primary care, I wanted to bring another understanding to primary care. And when they say primary care, I'm talking about real primary care from the bottom foundation level. So hence why now, as of today, I look into that stuff. And imagine it started from making a few decisions. And Islam is been the backbone of everything for me.
This I was gonna say. Like, it doesn't mean that you have to choose.
No.
What Islam is in our DNA, innit? In everything that we do. So I'm sure you found that out as you were.
Exactly. So Islam has always been the backbone of everything that I do. And there are certain verses, one particular verse, which talks about basically, if I was to try to recall it, أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم يا أيها الذين آمنوا لما تقولون ما لا تفعلون كبر مقتا عند الله أن تقولوا ما لا تفعلون. So why do you say something that you do not do yourself? In essence, indeed with Allah is hatred to those who basically do not fulfill what they set out to do. So for me, this is a big verse, because if I'm telling people to live like this, behave like this, I have to set an example for myself. And you can see in some of my videos where I recently put up saying, when they thought that this healthcare professional was all talk.
Oh yeah, I saw that one.
I don't really care like what my body's like, because at the end of the day it's for me. And it's part of the whole longevity thing that I talk about as well. Because at the end of the day, muscle will go. Everything will go. But the way you look after yourself, yes, we can see right now it's muscles. Afterwards, there's other things. There's other layers that need to shine. And if those layers are not shining, you're going to be in trouble. And longevity is about those other layers. It's not about the muscles. Although the muscles have their part to play right now. But it's the other layers that's going to be far more important later on in your life. And that's the whole understanding of longevity. It's about looking after your metabolism, or you could say components or systems in your body, where then later on in your life, when things are slowing down, it's not going to be as bad, because you've looked after these things that's meant to be the backbone of your health.
Building blocks,
The building blocks,
So that's a really good point to kind of swerve into the main subject. I think, number one, I really want to get into what is longevity, because this word gets, there's that guy, I don't know if you've seen him, bro. You must have come across him. You know that guy?
Dr. Hyman?
The one who's doing that experiment. Is he a doctor, that guy? He's always topless, bro.
No.
with the ponytail. He's doing this anti-aging thing. What's the guy's name, man? He's all over YouTube. For some reason, he comes up on my feed a lot. So he's doing this thing where he's spending millions and millions of pounds on his body.
Yes, I know who you're talking about. I don't know his name.
I don't know his name. You know what's the blonde guy?
Takes like millions of pills and whatever. Yeah,
that's right. And he's
very rich as well, isn't he?
Yeah. I think he's
actor or something.
How is he an actor? Yeah,
I thought he was an actor or something.
But I think, where's he getting this money from, man? Because apparently it's like £1 million a year or something he's spending on, or more than that. Allah, to be honest with you, I didn't really do too much digging into his personal background or whatever. But he's all about, sleeping. Like, for example, a simple thing like sleeping on there's this mattress that he's got that cools him down and warms him up to kind of wake him up and all this stuff, and taking his pills, taking like his blood out and checking his glucose and all that stuff. Yeah, which I think he's doing it from a scientific point of view. He has, which is and I appreciate that. I like the hustle. I appreciate the hustle that he's doing, but I feel like when I look at my granddad, for example, my father's father, so Allah Mubarak, like I've always so I never grew up with him. He lives in Algeria, but
Sure.
he used to come over like quite a bit. He doesn't come over anymore. He hates this place, bro. Like it's just the weather, the people. He doesn't like it. He likes to. But I remember like he's how old is he, Zach, man? But 80. Yeah, he's almost 90. Allahumma barik. Like, only now his body's starting to break down. You know.
Interesting.
So, but I'll tell you the kind of things that I picked up when I was a kid. Yeah. Number one, he wakes up at the same time every single day. Like he's meticulous. Yeah. And he's sleep. Bro, what's going on? He's going to sleep, bro. If it's at a specific time, he's regulated. Yeah. Number two, he doesn't eat a lot. Like, and he has to eat at specific times. Otherwise, my grandma's got him. Like if the food's not there, he's gonna get agitated. You know, and it's not because he's hungry. He's been like that all his life. Allahumma barik, his back's straight. You know, you know, in that look in their eye. You know, it's very sharp look in his eye. Very alert. You know, like he would walk. He's got animals and stuff like that, and that he looks after. And I remember thinking, like, looking at him, thinking, subhanAllah, like he was really impressed. Like even simple things, like he would have on his pillow, he'd have a towel, like a square towel. Do you remember that, Zach? Square towel, he'd have a miswak, the Quran, and like a couple of things that he'd have, like he'd make his bed. Yes, it's like military role. Very disciplined. Doesn't overeat. There's certain foods he doesn't touch. Like sugars and stuff like that. He eats a little bit, but he doesn't overindulge in sugars. Fantastic. And you know all these things. And Allahumma barik, his body, he's I don't even I think he's maybe does take blood pressure medicine later on, but because he's Algerian, bro, like it's probably he's got to do with that, bro. Like he's got a quick temper, you know, he's very kind of highly strung individual, yeah. And he's from a generation that fought against the French, so like he's had trauma, you know, from things, so he's dealing with that. But Allahumma barik, he's very, but alhamdulillah, he's still ticking along now. He still goes to the masjid, you know, back and forth from the masjid, Fajr, Dhuhr, Asr, Maghrib, you know.
This is a role model.
Role model, bro.
Absolutely.
And so I start thinking, okay, what? Like, and then as I get older and I think about it, I think, subhanAllah, people are just finding these things now. And he fasts Mondays and Thursdays. You know, like does the Sunnah stuff. And now these guys are picking up fasting, intermittent fasting, doing all this stuff. And another thing I realized as well, Ammar, yeah, when I went to Algeria, is they do not eat that much meat, bro.
Yes. Like
you'd think Arab country, yeah, like meat, and they don't. They culturally Friday, Jummah, yeah, they'd go out because it's a weekend, isn't it? So after Jummah, they would eat couscous with meat and vegetables and stuff. Yeah. But summertime, subhanAllah, look at this. The hikmah of this as well. Summertime, lot of salads. And they talk about things like hot foods and stuff like that. Like they don't really eat hot foods in the summer. They would eat cool foods like cucumbers and like aubergines and stuff. They don't really eat them. And there's things like that. But this is stuff that's come from the Sunnah, bro. This is stuff that's come from, does that make sense?
Yeah, absolutely.
So to kind of, and I think one video that came up that really struck a chord with me was when he talked about the 4 cornerstones of health. And I'm gonna let you kind of go into that as well, inshallah, because I feel like that's a good, you know, jump off point. So if you kind of just explain to everyone and to myself, I'm really keen to hear about these 4 cornerstones. How did you come across this? Where and how did you implement it and so on?
Yeah, so with every, I'll tell you where my sort of interest and more whole understanding of this became solidified, you could say, like it became solid. I start looking at sort of these common conditions, whether you can think about diabetes, fatty liver disease, thyroid issues as well, high blood pressure, cholesterol. These are known as metabolic conditions. It's to do with your metabolism.
Can you explain to us what the metabolism is as well?
Yeah. So metabolism, for you to have this understanding, metabolism is a process where you have 2 parts. One of them is known as anabolism, The other one is catabolism, and they both make out to be metabolism.
So
Anabolism,
anabolic and catabolic.
yes, exactly.
Right, okay.
So it's about storing and collecting, and then you also have using what's been stored. So anabolism is this understanding where you're going to be taking and storing things. Depending on where you store depends on different signals and what your body's going through. And catabolism is about this understanding where you're going to be utilizing these stores. When we're talking about stores, what are we talking about? It's the things that's coming into the body. This is the thing. So for you to have a much easier understanding of metabolism is about bringing energy from outside of the body into the body and utilizing that energy. In what way? It depends on your activity.
So either storing it or using it.
Using it, yes.
Right, okay.
And if you think about these common conditions, insulin resistance, which is behind many, if it becomes chronic, if it becomes a long-term issue, it will lead on to become many issues, including diabetes, cholesterol, even it will affect your nerves, your nervous system, and your neurons in your brain, etc. So it will affect all of this. So why do we have insulin resistance in the first place? When the energy comes into your body, it has to be converted. That glucose that is made available, it has to go into the cell for it to be utilized and then converted, or to go through that whole energy process. So it becomes ATP within the cell.
What's ATP?
So this is basically its component, it's energy, unit of energy. It's energy. It's energy basically.
Yeah. Okay, I got you.
So if you are having this glucose that comes into the cell and converts into the Krebs cycle that they talk about, the energy transport chain that they talk about, the whole glycolysis, all of this, and the ATP production, all of that depends on the behavior of your mitochondria. And this is an organelle within the cell. All of this takes place due to this organelle of the cell, within the cell.
You're losing me, bro.
It's so basically.
So if you break it down, I know mitochondria is like the lifeblood, isn't it?
It's the energy house.
The energy house, yeah.
So or the powerhouse of a cell.
Yeah. So to kind of go back, yeah.
Yeah.
So you talked about bringing energy into the body. So with food, right?
Yes.
So that energy now comes into the body.
Yes.
Now you said it's either you store it,
yes,
or you use it, right?
Correct.
So storing it.
Yep.
What's the function? So what kind of, just give us one example of how we store.
So fats.
Okay. So storing fats, using it like carbohydrates or glucose or whatever, energy, right?
Yes.
So that we need that to kind of function and all that stuff.
Absolutely.
Okay, good.
Yes.
So now there's
it depends
these
on the activity. So if it's going to be like a activity, for example, anaerobic activity, something that's high intensity, then you want that, and that glucose, you want to utilize the glucose, and your body will utilize that glucose.
Right.
But if it's going to be a long endurance, aerobic, then it's going to be more relying on the fats, the stores.
Right. I got you.
Do you understand?
Yeah, I get that.
So, yeah.
So, okay. So for example, if you're someone who's inactive and you're taking that energy and you're storing it, but you have no way of burning it, right? So this is where the situation comes in. So you're just
storing.
And you keep adding.
Storing.
Right.
And storing.
Got you.
You have these reserved energy tanks, glycogen tanks. You have them in your liver and you have them in your muscle cells as well. If these tanks become full, you're in trouble.
Serious?
Yeah. And they can't become full.
They can't, ever?
They can.
They can?
They can.
Oh, right.
And what will happen is that it's going to be...
So no, go ahead, finish.
So if it's going to become full, then it has to be stored as other forms of fat. You're talking about visceral fat. Yes, there's some amount of it that we do need. So
glycogen, so you mentioned three things, yeah? You got glucose and all that. What is glycogen, bro?
So glycogen is basically a substrate after glucose.
Right. So
when glucose gets broken down,
right,
then the other part of it is also glycogen. if it gets sort of in your body, it's kept in the body as sort of
So
a reserve.
I understand. It's like when you process oil, you get petrol, right?
Yeah,
It's a bit like that.
a bit like that. Yeah.
So it's a derivative of glucose,
Yes.
which gets stored in the body,
Yes.
and then it gets used at a later point.
Whenever the body can tap into
I
it.
understand. I got you. So your body, subhanAllah, it's basically like having petrol in your tank.
Yes.
And as your body it pulls it from, and then it goes into the combustion engine that burns it, that gives you momentum, right?
Yeah.
So so you're saying, like I'm trying to so you're saying basically, if you're an inactive person,
mm-hmm.
you've taken glucose in, you've stored all this stuff. Now the stores, it goes into the glycogen, that gets full. When those get full, it has to go somewhere else.
Yeah.
And this is where you start building up body fat, right? And
yes.
other types of
things. So physical inactivity is a big part of it, big role to play in it.
Yeah.
And that is one of the pillars.
What about things like, for example, eating more than you burn? So you could be someone who is active, but you're eating more than you
need.
Yeah.
Then that's when I spoke about it's going to be stored in a different way. It all depends on your physical activity.
Oh, I see. So it's different than from someone who's sedentary, like is not doing anything.
I'll give you a very nice way to understand this. You may have somebody exactly the same height, from the same family, they eat in the same way. You give them a piece of cake. Yeah. The only difference is that other person, say B, is training a little bit. So he's a little bit more active in terms of it builds muscle.
Yeah.
What will happen is that the person who does not train A, he eats the cake, and then the B eats the cake. Because A doesn't train and B does train, there's high likelihood of A having that piece of cake, and that glucose enters the body. That glucose the blood sugars go up, the glucose is there. It doesn't get utilized, so it has to store.
Right.
And it could be stored as visceral fat. They could be both, you could say, unhealthy at the same time, but just one trains a little bit, that's all. He just does some weightlifting. Now, because the other one weightlifts, what will happen is that there's a high likelihood that the glucose that came hasn't entered the cell because of some issues, whatever, insulin resistance. But then it gets stored as glycogen rather than being stored as visceral fat, which would have happened for the person who does not train or anything like that.
I get it now. So basically, at that moment, his glycogen stores might not have been full because he kind of trains anyway. So does that make sense?
He simply has more glycogen stores because he trains.
Oh, he's got more tanks.
Yeah,
than the other guy.
Muscle,
I didn't even know you can build more tanks.
Muscle. The more muscle you have, the more glycogen storage you'll have as well.
So that's why Michael Phelps can eat a whole pizza.
He can eat whatever he wants.
Right.
Yeah. That's why I would put weight training above all types of training. However, it needs to be balanced, but it's one of my favorite types of training because I know what that can do for you in terms of longevity as well. Not only your metabolism, but also your longevity. And we also know that weight training is good for keeping your metabolism active. And when we're talking about active metabolism, it's all about that being able to switch from anabolism to catabolism, or anabolic state to catabolic state, storing, utilizing, breaking, and having that flexibility to do that. So there's no such thing as, fast metabolism. There's no such thing. You can only increase it by a little bit, the metabolic rate in terms of that way. Yes, there is a slow metabolism and damaged metabolism, or slow basal metabolic rate. There is that, but there is no such thing as a fast metabolism.
So damaged metabolism, so is that repairable?
Yeah.
Okay. So how can you damage your metabolism?
So this, you have to go into the four corners. So if you are the four corners: sleep, physical activity, stress, and not balancing your food.
I'll stop you there.
Yeah.
Zach, where you at with these four corners, bro? I know you don't sleep, bruv. I know you don't sleep. And that goes with me. I'm terrible sleep.
I mash up all of them, bro.
So what was the other one? Sleep?
Stress.
Man's highly stressed now because he's trying to move house. What's the other one?
Physical activity.
Physical activity. Last time we saw him at the gym, he got his blue belt and he went missing.
You know what's interesting? When we say being physically active, it doesn't necessarily mean for you to go and exercise every day.
Yeah.
It could be a form of just walking, brisk walking.
Bro, do you walk, bro? He drives everywhere, by the way. What's the other one? What's the last one?
I mean, I walk down the stairs.
So we did sleep,
stress,
physical activity,
and balancing your food.
Balancing your food. What's your food like, bro?
But I've lost weight, bro.
Ammar Akbar, bro. You lost weight. I know you have. But I'm asking you a serious... When's the last time you weighed yourself?
Just after Ramadan.
Okay, so that's debatable now, isn't it? You lost because of what? Because of Ramadan.
Yeah, and then I had a toothache which I didn't eat.
Oh yeah,
so
that's
then I lost more weight.
Yeah. But anyway, just but I'm the same. So like, I'm really keen to kind of drill down into this. Yeah. So I think there's a couple of things that you said from those four that people don't really pay attention to. I think sleep is one, and stress is another. We don't really connect that with. We think that's a mental health thing. Which it is, yeah. But from my experiences with stress, that what I told you in the top of the show, I didn't, like, for me, I was ignorant to the fact that there are other stress. Like, I was speaking to Dr. Amar as well. He said, stress, one part of it is mental. Because, like things like Wi-Fi, things like pollution, things like, sometimes even things like, for example, when you're in a crowded place and there's lots of people talking, your brain has to do something to drown out that noise. The noise is still there, but imagine like you're in a busy cafe and it's really loud and you're with your friend. Now, when you're speaking to him, you're gonna hear him, right? But your brain is still processing all the other bits of information. It's just drowning it out a little bit, all these type of things, yeah. But obviously, there's the physical stress of just life in general.
Well, I think when it comes to stress, the big thing we need to understand. You have the physiological stress, what happens inside of you. This is all good. We can't blame this for anything because these are the same things that allows us to function every day. It's the same stress that gets you up in the morning.
Give me an example, like when you're talking about physiological stress.
So getting up in the morning, that cortisol goes up. It's meant to go up, get you up. Or other sort of stress hormones as well here. It gets you up and gets you going.
You're talking about from the scientific point of view, the word stress in the sense of physiology
of it.
Okay, yeah.
But then we have external factors, stressors.
Yes.
And this is my advice, which I give to my patients, my private patients and normal patients as well for the NHS or private. I say to them one simple thing. I said, if you want to start looking at your stress, find out what they are in terms of the external stress. Find out what are the things that's causing you stress. Go and write them down. The more you know about them, the more you acknowledge it, the more you can have control over it. And this will prepare you. It doesn't mean you go on head to head with it straight away. You go and make a plan. And it doesn't matter how long it takes you. Go and make a plan as long as you recognize what they are. Go and make a plan for how you be able to tackle them slowly. You don't have to do 100%. You don't have to do 50%. Even if it's like 1%. And I think it was quite popular not too long ago, the Atomic Habits, the book. Yeah. It spoke about the importance of 1%.
Every day, 1%.
Exactly. So understanding what the factors are from external point of view will have a massive effect on what happens internally in terms of physiology. And I give you a great example on how stress directly links with sleep. Now, we get on with our day. We get up in the morning, we'll go to work. So we are stressing, our cortisol levels are going to be a certain point, but then it drops. Then we eat as well. And that can also raise it, depending on how you've eaten. The behavior eating has got something to do with stress. But also you have all the other factors like work, etc.
You mean comfort eating and that type of stuff?
Yeah. Or eating in a hurry. You understand? And then think about it. If you're working 9 to 5, you get about what, half an hour of
an hour
or an hour, half an hour to eat
at your desk.
Or eat at your desk. Yeah. You're eating in a hurry. I'm not even going to go into the digestive issues this will cause you, but to have the understanding of what this will
We're laughing at.
But we eat in a hurry for
Bro,
for no reason.
my family. If you used to eat with my family, bro. Have you seen the Simpsons? We like even when I first got married, my wife was looking at me like, what are you doing, bro?
I personally had a habit myself and I tried to work on it, but that alone,
that could be a whole
is
podcast
stress.
on its own. Is how to yeah,
So
go on.
that alone is stress. And now when you come in towards sort of afternoon period, that's when you feel your stress is sort of, your cortisol levels have dropped. That's why we feel tired and sort of we don't want to do anything and you want to take a nap. But then you do something, whatever, then it goes up again. You may have a coffee or you do some way to get that tiredness to go away. So you do something. So that cortisol levels goes up. What's going on here is your cortisol is like up and down, up and down, up and down. There's not really a balance, you know? And then it comes towards the end of the day, you got home, you eat again. That has an effect on your cortisol. What happens now is that you are now in that state of, this goes into also, we call the autonomic nervous system, the fight or flight or the rest and digest. So what you're doing, you're coming in and out of each one. Come towards the end of the day, come towards the bedtime. Due to the activities, what happened throughout the day, that will determine what your cortisol levels are going to be towards the end of the day. So if you were more
so like a store of cortisol, almost like, or
almost like, but it's just more about in and out,
impact.
Yeah, the impact.
Right.
So if you're somebody who is terrible at handling stress anyway, there's more likelihood of that you coming towards the end of the day when you want to try to sleep, you're going to go through that high cortisol state. If your cortisol is going to be high before you're trying to sleep, good luck on sleeping, because your body is going to be active to do stuff. Your brain, most likely, because 25% of your calorie or your energy that you put into your brain, into your body, is utilized by your brain every day.
Everything that you put in your mouth.
25% of the energy of your total energy that comes into your body throughout the day, total percentage of the total energy that comes into your body, 25% of it is utilized by your brain.
It's like VAT, bro. You get taxed. The brain taxes it, man.
Yeah. So the brain is very, very greedy in a sense. So
what's interesting what you said. So to go back with the cortisol. So you're saying that basically because you're peaking and dropping, peaking and dropping.
Yeah, peaking and dropping.
Your body doesn't know that. So you get to the end of the day, it's thinking, right, I'm dropped. I might have to peak up again.
Yeah.
So you're saying by the time you get to sleep, it's thinking, oh my God, this guy's going to do something crazy again, bro. Yeah. So you're saying the idea is to kind of slowly curve the cortisol levels down.
And that depends on what you eat, what you drink, everything, your stress, like the stress factors. So all of that determines how your cortisol is going to be towards the end of the day. And that's when we utilize certain herbs as well. Because one of the herbs which
you're talking about that kind of... What kind of herbs are you talking about?
We're talking about ashwagandha here. So
ashwagandha, isn't that the stuff that they smoke, bro?
They don't smoke. Well, I'm not sure who
don't
smokes
they go
it.
to Peru and eat that and get... Isn't that psychedelic, bro?
No, not ashwagandha. That's the mad honey.
That's ganja.
No, not ganja, bro. There's that... subhanAllah, what is that called again? Joe Rogan talks about it all the time, bro. Ayahuasca, sorry.
Okay.
No, it's
so ashwagandha is... Here's an interesting herb, this one here, and a lot of people are taking it wrong.
What?
Ashwagandha, this way I utilize it with my patients. I tell them to take in a specific time in the day. So this is between 5 and 7 p.m. Why? Because ashwagandha is known to inhibit or excite.
Or excite.
Or excite.
Interesting.
What are we talking about here? We're literally talking about your cortisol levels here. It can inhibit it or it can excite it. And it's got about 4 hours of activation in your body. After that, it sort of just goes.
How does it know to excite or?
Well, it's working with your nerve, with your neurons. Everything that you eat, no matter whatever you eat, has some sort of a neurotransmitter anyway. Imagine
so
that's
it's alive. It's alive.
Yeah.
SubhanAllah, that's crazy.
So these things are literally there. Well, these herbs, many other herbs, to have that effect on your brain. So what I'm saying that people are taking it wrong is that they're taking it early in the morning, for instance. Okay? But why? What is your purpose? What are you trying to do? So if you're taking it early in the morning and you're trying to excite yourself to basically get you going, have the energy, but your cortisol levels are already high, what are you doing? You're messing with the cortisol here. Do you understand? Live that naturally. Allow your cortisol to do its own thing. Even things like coffee and stuff like that, you shouldn't be really drinking in the morning because your cortisol levels are naturally going to be.
So that is so important. Like for me, coffee in the morning is a ritual, bro. It's
Crack.
It's but
it's become more of a habit as well.
It's a habit, yeah. So
habit.
I was listening to that Dr. Huberman.
Oh yeah, one of my favorites.
Yeah, he's amazing, bro. Allah Mubarak. May Allah give him hidayah, bro. He knows all that about the body. He should look into Islam, man.
I wonder.
Yeah, it's just be interesting to kind of, because it's the first time I ever heard this before. So he was saying, "Why are you drinking coffee in the morning?" I was like, "Bro," like in the podcast I was listening to. I was like, "What do you mean? That's stupid, man. You wanna." He goes, "You should drink coffee 3 hours after you wake up." 3-4 hours. So have it so if you wake up at 8, have it about 11.
Yeah.
Do you see what I'm saying? If you wake up at 7, have it about 10. Because I didn't realize until you mentioned the cortisol levels. I was like, okay, right, it makes sense.
But I wake up tired, bro.
Bruv, we need to send you to Ammar's clinic and you need to do some sort of
these are the simple tests. Like
he needs ruqya, he needs ashwagandha, bruv. Anything that you got, just pump it into his body. Shilajit,
Mad honey,
all at the same time, bro.
Yeah,
bro. Honestly, bro, you've just hit 30, innit?
Yeah.
No, you're actually 30.
No. I'm 31.
Oh, you guys are the same age.
Couple months.
Akhi, please, Habibi, please, bruv, is the most. Cortisol.
Yeah.
If cortisol was a product, he'd be the guy. He'd be the guy that's like holding up like that.
No, so
so to go back to
the ashwagandha, the way I utilize with my stressed patients,
right?
I say to them, take it between 5 and 7 p.m.
So what does that do?
Interesting thing, some of them depending on their sleeping hours, whatever. So I ask them to take it around that time. A lot of them got kids. Imagine their kids are going to be coming from school or madrasa, things like that. So by then their cortisol levels are going to be quite low. When that's low, that's going to irritate you. Anything will irritate you, like things are going to come and get on your nerves. You're going to be low energy. You don't want to do anything. You get into arguments and things like that. So if you're taking something that excites it, that raises the cortisol, that's fantastic. Then you need that. But it's not going to be too much because by the time you get to bed and things like that, it's going to be slowly coming out your body. Do you understand? So it's about knowing when to take these herbs and what to take it with as well. That's where the interesting part comes in. So there's timing for each of these herbs. Like shilajit, for example, as well. Fantastic for energy, as they say, as you might find some research around it.
I don't know anything about shilajit, bro.
Shilajit is interesting herb.
We're gonna open the shilajit door, bro. Go into the shilajit.
Let's go into it, yeah.
Let's go into it.
So the shilajit is an interesting herb because what it is decomposed plants from the rocks of the Himalayan mountains. This would include Pakistan.
So you're talking to me? Oh, sorry, he's on the phone. So
this will be Pakistan, India, Nepal, Afghanistan.
Is it a specific plant or
many different plants?
Right.
They decompose. They become almost.
Okay. Bring up shilajit in the image search, please, bro. And also, when you bring something up, at least let us know, innit? We're deep in conversation and you're scrolling around, bro.
That is it. So that's more the solid version.
That looks like licorice, bro.
It does look like licorice.
What's the consistency?
Horrible.
It
tastes horrible. That's where you find them like that. So you can see these are sort of decomposed plants on top of the mountains, and what they do, they collect these sort of the rocks and they abstract it, and then they filter it. Depends on where it is being sort of prepared, because now that's the important thing here for us to understand. Depending on the tradition, depending on which village or who is preparing it, you have to be a little bit careful, because in certain cultures, certain places in the world, India, Nepal specifically, they tend to purify it using cow urine.
Right.
So this is quite problematic because they utilize this process not only just to purify, but it could also be done through a religious ritual.
Right. Okay, I got you. Yeah.
So this is where it can be a little bit problematic, or where you get your shilajit from.
Bro, I'll ask you a question, bro.
Yeah.
Who the hell first was like, you see that rock over there, yeah? Let me go suck on this rock so I can get some energy. I don't understand, bro. Sometimes when you think about how do they find out these things? There's a rock. You see that rock? That looks like it's gonna
That looks mad tasty.
it looks tasty, bro. Oh, you know what? I'm feeling kind of tired. Let's climb that mountain and suck on that rock, bro. I don't understand. Well, like, human beings were like, it's honestly.
I honestly believe sometimes this is the jinns and whispers things to them. Honestly, that's what I believe. Like, I haven't looked deep into it, but I've got a friend who is deep into Islamic knowledge and sort of Arabic language, and he goes deep into the Arabic language. Thank you. And he speaks about the old Arabic poetry, and those people go deep into the language. They have to study it.
Yeah.
And when he sort of talks about certain poetry, he goes, this is no way written by a man. They were inspired by something else. So inspirations like this, I think they're in everything. In a lot of these things.
Like these guys that go to do this ayahuasca and they say, I went into some realm. One guy, brother, I heard this story. Do you mind if I share this with you?
No,
it's a little bit of a detour, But there's this thing called, there's this YouTube series where I kind of got like, when you go into one video, it goes into another one. Mm-hmm. I'm not trying to excuse myself, but basically the stories about people's experiences on psychedelics.
Okay.
Yeah. So there's this like guy, he goes, he took something else. I think it was LSD or whatever it is. Yeah. I think it was a comedian who was talking about it. Can you imagine? He said that I got married. I had kids. He goes, I went through a whole life, but it was only 45 minutes. When I woke up, he goes, it was like 45 minutes later. So they went into like a whole different realm, bro. And there was this scientist, I can't remember, like, he was saying they're actually trying to map the psychedelic realm. There's this project, I think the army was trying to do it, I think in the 70s or low, I can't remember exactly the details, but these guys are trying to map the psychedelic, that realm or whatever, yeah? So when you talk about, like a lot of things that have been discovered were because someone just got licked, innit? That's what happened, didn't it? Someone got licked off something and it's like, you know what?
Let me write some poetry.
There's another thing as well. Yeah, let me write some poetry. Or another one. Bruv, a guy, why are you licking frogs for, bro? There's one guy, he found out there's this specific frog. I think it was a scientist. They found that this frog, if you lick it, you get licked off it as well, bro.
Yeah.
I'm like, subhanAllah, how do you think, that frog, let me go and lick that frog and get a bit, loose on it. Yeah. SubhanAllah. So yeah, shilajit, sorry, we're kind of like a little bit. But okay, so they were sucking on those rocks, yeah? Or they got the rock and there's a process.
And the process, sometimes it takes a while. Yeah. And then you end up with this tar like what you saw on camera earlier on. And what you simply do, you mix it in water. Some other cultures, they mix it in milk and stuff like that. They even add egg and stuff like whatever. Yeah, they mix it and they say this is good for your bone growth and things like that. In my country, it's very popular in that way. They mix it like that with milk and egg and stuff like that. So it's not just an Indian or Nepalese or whatever. It's all over. Pakistan knows about it. Afghanistan knows about it. But only specific group of people or from different specific place in the country, especially the mountainous areas, more closer to the Himalayas, they know about it.
But why? What's the purpose of shilajit?
Good. So there are benefits to shilajit according to what you'd find. I say potential benefits.
Okay.
Because every biology is different. We don't know what's gonna help you. So in terms of the benefits, the main benefit is testosterone boost for male individual. Testosterone booster. Other benefits: anti-inflammatory, antioxidative, and as well as sort of helping you with your energy, mood, you could see like things like that.
So they give it. So is that why Afghans have a lot of kids? And those ones, Pakistanis and stuff.
They say that.
It could be. It could be that. Yeah.
Say
So
that. It is used for fertility in that person.
Oh.
Memory. That
Okay.
forgot about that. Memory is another one. And there's been some interesting studies that done on the sort of memory and linked it with dementia as well.
Okay.
Alzheimer's with Shilajit.
So using Shilajit as a therapy.
Yeah, as a sort of to improve memory.
So
and combating dementia.
How often do you
like that.
take it?
You're meant to take it every day.
But what about you?
Me, I used to take it every day. But what I'm trying to do now is I'm trying to sort of do absolutely everything from food. It's my own sort of experiment, you could say.
Right. Okay.
Talking of experiments, what I did, in fact, I did my own little experiment with Shilajit. I'll talk a little bit about that. So what happened is that I said to myself, I'm going to go get my testosterone tested. You're looking at sort of testosterone total, and then you look at the free testosterone. You look at everything in the whole picture. And then I said to myself, I'm going to take Shilajit every day at the same time. I'm not going to change much with my sleep, my food, nothing. The only thing that's going to be looked at is just Shilajit. Very difficult to control things like that, but I did my best.
Yeah.
So I did that for about 9-10 days. And then when I got my test done again, there was an increase. However, here's the difficult part. I'm not going to say to you, this is the study and that's where it's done and you should do the same or whatever. No, I'm going to say that. But what I'm going to say is that it's very difficult to test these things as well, because your testosterone going up and down very quickly within a matter of minutes, depending on stress, depending on what you went through. Do you understand? But if you want to purely look at it from what it says on the paper, he seems to have done something.
So, like, how much was it? How much of an increase, like percentage-wise, if you had to guess?
If I can remember accurately, it was done about 6 months ago. You're looking about 5%.
But 5%. Did you feel
3 to 5%? It was about.
So did you, what was the like anecdotally?
Regardless,
how did you feel?
Regardless of what the paper says, my experience of taking Shilajit, number one thing is energy. You go into the gym, you feel, oh right, let's go.
So do you take it, then go to the gym like a pre-workout?
You're meant to take it like a pre-workout. You're meant to take every morning. Because one thing about Shilajit, it can, if you take it in the wrong time, because it's something you're meant to take and utilize the energy. It's almost like a Red Bull. You're not gonna have a Red Bull and go sleep. You know?
Yeah.
You want to have it when you want to utilize that energy. You know, it does something to your rhythm of your heart and things that pumps you up. So you're meant to use it in that way, and then go for your daily sort of work or gym or whatever.
Okay.
So that's how I used it in the mornings, and it does make it. There is a difference. It's not studied well. I'm not gonna say to you, the study suggested. It's not
anecdotal from your side.
Yeah, anecdotal from our point of view. And also the thing is that there has been studies done to say that it's absolutely fine for you to take it. It doesn't do anything for you. But it's banned in certain countries.
Serious?
Yes.
Why?
I don't know. They just
like
say,
where?
From my understanding, Australia is one of those countries that banned it. But there is a total list. There's about 120 something countries that ban it. I don't really know why. Although you got a study that says it's totally fine. But I think the problem is, the reason why it might be banned, there are some studies that have said that it causes you this. That's because they may have taken the one that's been mixed with something that's not meant to be mixed with. Causes you all these issues to your body. Like they say something about, I think it was something to do with your heart or whatever. But okay, it depends on how they've taken it. And it also depends on how much they've taken. Yeah. And also depends on where was the Shilajit from? What was it mixed with? Because it's very easy to find the ones that's been mixed with a lot of rubbish.
Yeah.
So this is the thing. But it's a very old, all of these herbs that I've mentioned so far, the ashwagandha, the Shilajit, it's very popular in Ayurvedic medicine.
Yeah.
It's type of an old traditional medicine from, I think it's from India. And it's popular. They use these herbs to improve people's lives. But remember, it's all to do with the knowledge when you're taking these things. If you're taking it in the wrong way, you're going to cause yourself some problems. For instance, Shilajit, if you take it in the wrong time of the day and you're taking the wrong amount, you literally will feel palpitations in your heart. you will feel that.
It's like taking pre-workout.
It's
and,
like a pre-workout.
Yeah, I've had guys. One guy took pre-workout, and he was having a conversation with someone. So normally you take the pre-workout and go work out straight away.
Yes.
But I think he delayed it for about 15, 20. This was one of those strong ones. But he started itching all over his face. He started freaking out. Do you remember that day?
Yeah.
I think it was
But one guy was hospitalized, bro.
what, in the gym.
Remember, bro?
Who?
Ammar's student.
I don't think I was there, bro.
Bro, he's not from our gym. He got hospitalized.
Oh
remember,
yes, I remember. Yeah.
He had like a heart attack or something.
Yeah, no, it wasn't a heart attack. Let's just yeah.
Yeah. So this is the thing.
Yeah.
But
So-
yeah,
so-
we use these herbs and utilize in a certain way to improve your health.
I would say anyone listening to the podcast right now, go and follow Ammar's TikTok, bro.
Thank you.
Like honestly, wallahi, like I'm not saying it because like, oh, obviously you're on the show, we want people to follow you, but honestly, it's actually good. It's good advice, well thought out. Well, the content's well thought out. It's not what's the word? You know, how guys like to get slick with the videos, innit? They start doing acting and whatnot and all this stuff, and you know, doing CGI and stuff. Yours just straight up to the camera. Here's the advice.
Yeah.
Keep it moving. And alhamdulillah, it's entertaining as well. But I want to so we talked about stress and sleep.
Yes.
Yeah, we touched on those two things. Before we get into it, we're going to cap off this whole podcast with Mad Honey. I was hoping you'd bring some in with you, bro. So we can both get licked, but it's fine. But we'll cap that off. We'll leave that to the end. So if you listen, if you got to this part of the video, wait to the end, and we're gonna Ammar's
Mad
gonna
honey stuff.
we're gonna talk about some Mad Honey.
There's some good stuff to talk about the Mad Honey. Yeah.
So so with stress and sleep. So what was the other two again?
So balancing your food.
Yeah.
Is one of them. Now, we're talking about a nice balance. When you look at your plate, one thing that they say, like the courses I've been on to and the doctors that I listen to when it comes to these things, he said, make sure your plate is colorful.
Right.
When it's not colorful, means there's not like a nice balance. It's just, it's dominated by one type of a food. You know, it's like having a plate full of chips, just one color. It's boring. You know, if you're going to have a plate, and it doesn't have to be just one meal, as long as you balance your food throughout the day as well. But if you're having 1 or 2 meals in a day, because you can do that, just make sure that is well balanced. And when we're talking about balance, you have good amount of protein, good amount of, and I'll tell you how you can eyeball it and how you can measure that. It's very simple techniques here. You got your protein, you got your fats, you got your carbohydrates, and you got your fibers. And for you to easily measure this without even going into too much detail, look at your fats, look at your you look at your sort of your carbs, and you look at your fats, and it should outweigh your protein.
Okay.
If you put them together, it should outweigh your protein. And
So your fats, your carbohydrates, what was the other one?
put them together,
Put them together. That should be more
outweigh more than your protein
Right.
together. And then the fiber, nice good source of fiber there. There are simple tricks. Like if you want to really utilize a trick that I would, if you're looking really interested in sort of weight loss and controlling your carbs and what happens to your body in terms of how your body processes your carbs, have some dates before you start your meal. Or have an apple. Or have a strawberry, for example. And that strawberry could be mixed with a little bit of yogurt.
Why?
This is to do with the utilizing fiber, and also there's a technique that we utilize known
So
as
date, strawberry,
anything that's high in fiber.
okay.
You eat that first.
Or apple.
Yes. Or an apple, yeah. Because what that does, first and foremost, is of course your fibers are gonna go up. You're gonna feel more satiated. And then when you go into your actual meal, what you do, you start changing the order of what you eat first. Don't jump into your carbohydrates first. Leave that to last. So when it comes to eating your carbohydrates, you're not going to eat too much of it, because by the time you get to your carbs, you might be full by then. So
The
this
carbs,
is sort of
carbs. They pack, like, and also they make you feel like you want to keep eating as well.
exactly.
Yeah.
And a lot of the favorite foods that we have is
Like
is
chips
carbohydrates.
and
Yeah.
crisps and all that type of
Yeah.
stuff. Yeah.
So this is food sequencing, and at the same time understanding how to utilize your fibers. It's the fibers that make you full, or tap into your satiation hormones, or really take care of certain hormones like your ghrelin, which is known as the hunger hormone.
Grilling.
Yeah,
I swear it's Dragon Ball Z character, bro. Or is it Krillin?
that's ghrelin.
Krillin, yeah. But I realized, sorry, just to kind of divert a little bit.
Yeah.
I was watching, because, bruv, I've been trying to avoid Dragon Ball Z since Rashid. You know Rashid when we were in school, bro? He'd watch there's like 5,000 episodes, bro, a season, yeah? But I realized that the kids were telling me, they're all named after vegetables, bro. I was like, oh yeah, bruv. Yeah, Vegeta, vegetable. Krillin. What's his name?
Piccolo.
Yeah. Broccoli.
There was one. Yeah.
Yeah, they're all vegetable related, bro. It's interesting. But anyway, that's a clip in itself.
Interesting. But yeah, so these different nice techniques here.
Yeah.
How to really concentrate. Now, I'm not here trying to demonize carbohydrates, because carbohydrates are a fantastic source of energy, end of the day. The two main source of energy in the body is carbohydrates and fats. And then you also got protein that comes in here as well. Interesting, it's taught us in the Quran, and we don't even know about it. What was the Bani Israel given from the heavens? What is that?
I don't know, man. What is it?
It's some form of sweets, some type of carbs, and quail.
Oh.
Quail is high. It's good level, fantastic level of protein, fantastic nutrient when it comes to protein.
I didn't know this, man.
But there's also fats. So you can see even in the Quran, he talks about this. Like the most important nutrient, macronutrient to the human body is a nice balance of protein, fats, and carbohydrates.
Good advice and simple. That's the thing. I think sometimes we kind of try and we overcomplicate it. And a shameless plug, but there's a brother of ours, Coach Khalid. He's got like it's called Carb It Right. So his thing is it's a meal plan. So we a lot of the guys at the gym use it, and I think for me, because I went in my whole low carb situation, keto, all that stuff. So he told me as well. He goes, bro, he was a professional athlete and fought MMA at a high level. He goes, bro, you need to fuel your body, bro. It's just we just need to learn how, innit? Like learn how to do it. And by the way, links in the description if you want to get the it's got actually a free ebook, right? Coming out. I will put that in the description, inshallah, so you can get it and use that as a starting block for your nutritional journey. And again, like, as long as from what you're saying is be smart about it, don't overcomplicate. And that's what I love about your channels, Allahumma barik. You give very good advice, Allahumma barik. And yeah, like what you just said to me makes complete sequencing thing.
Sequencing. Yeah.
I've never heard of it. This is the first time
This is when you go into sort of the digestion, the realm of digestion. Yeah. There's a lot of Sunnah that sort of was teaching about this. Yeah. We didn't even think of it. SubhanAllah. And I can go into a little bit if you want. For example, I'm big on cephalic digestion. Cephalic digestion in Latin, it means start of digestion. What is that? It's your senses. The way you look at food, you hear about food, you see food, you touch food. All of that helps you salivate. You got 20% of those pancreatic hormones that helps with the whole digestive process. They get secreted whilst you're salivating. All about 30.
Just preparing the organs.
Yeah. You got all the enzymes and the acids that are prepared in your stomach area, in your digestive process, in your stomach and intestine, that gets prepared for that food to come in. This is all by you looking at food, right? And as a tactic that I use, and it's known, they're using functional medicine with the practitioners there when it comes to helping people manage their food intake and how you perceive food. They say, when you get your plate, smell it, look at it. Don't just eat it straight away.
I've never ever done that. Like I told you, we eat like friggin' animals at home, bro.
But we are taught to do it. How? You might be thinking.
Yeah, go on.
Before you eat, what are some of the things you're meant to do in terms of the Sunnah?
Say Bismillah.
Bismillah. Yeah. What does that do straight away? It makes you think conscious of God before food. It's almost like it almost tries to disconnect you from that, the habit or the greed that you want to just eat. It makes you feel food conscious. It makes you understand that, I have been given the blessing that there's food, there's plate in front of me. So I'm going to try and enjoy it rather than not having any conscience, just digging into it. You know, and that starts building that relationship that you're meant to have with food.
Even eating with your hand as well, because we
Exactly. That was the other point I was going to get into. When you're eating with your hand, everybody says when you eat with your hand, the food tastes different. And these are some powerful senses in the hand, tip of your fingers. So we've been taught by the Sunnah to eat with your hand. And you know, till today, they say the best way to eat your food is sitting on the floor with your legs crossed. Sitting on the floor and eating. For your digestive system.
Is it because of how the stomach is and everything? Yeah. And
even engages certain core muscles in terms of helping you with your digestion. Because even if you look at your digestive system and you sort of look at the muscles that's involved in your stomach, there are 3 different muscles. There's muscles almost everywhere there to support with these things. Involuntary muscle, smooth muscles, that they're gonna be working. So look how
right, man. You saw it because when we look at like food in itself, yeah. So look at the disconnection we have. We don't see the food. If you think about like we don't see it grow.
No.
The livestock, we don't see it grow. We don't see it walk around that we eat. Yeah. It comes in packaging. Mm-hmm. So you might not even cook the food because obviously if your wife's cooking or you're cooking, whatever it is, yeah, you prepare.
Or it comes prepared, yeah.
It can come prepared, yeah. Then it gets put on a plate. Then you use utensils. So the only time you have interaction with your food is when it's actually gone past your lips, isn't it? It's gone into your mouth.
And that's almost, it's almost like bypassing some of the important key stages of digestion. Because if you look at digestion, there's 3, I look at it from 3 stages. Starts with the cephalic digestion, with the senses. Then it comes to mechanical digestion, Mechanical digestion, which is basically you chewing the food. And then everything else is chemical. So cephalic, mechanical, chemical.
That is
These
crazy,
are the 3 stages of digestion. And depending on what happens in the first 2 stages, it will sort of manipulate how food is moved throughout the rest of the digestion. Once it's gone beyond, it dictates it.
Yeah.
And we call this gut motility, how the food moves from one stage of digestion to another stage of digestion. So many people that eat their food, they get bloated. There's a reason.
That's me, bro.
You know, eating your food fast. And what doesn't help is that you see all these advertisements. Everybody, like I say this a lot on my videos, they take off their shirts on YouTube, whatever. They show their muscles. Oh, this is the diet plan. Or you shouldn't be eating this, keto, this and that. They're just ruining your relationship with food. So. And they make it seem like this is the way that you get fit and healthy. And it's not. What that is doing is making you insecure, making you more depending on what others say, rather than understanding your own physiology, your own biofeedbacks. And at the same time, it brings that fear tactic. And what we need to understand when it comes to human behavior here is that if we follow this we're falling into this fear tactics and whatever, it makes you less flexible, relying on others. You lose your dependency. You will lose your own confidence in what you're eating, how you're controlling your own food. And over time, you will rebel and you will give up. You do whatever your desire will tell you. For others, what that will do, there's an amygdala part of the brain, which is like the fear center. You keep tapping into that, and in relation to food, what you're doing, you'll end up developing, there's actually a medical condition known as orthorexia. You will develop that where you're scared of food, and all these bulimia, all these other issues will come with it. So you'll be literally scared to eat food. And you'll end up even eating, you're going to go to the toilet, put your hand down your mouth and sick it all out, throw it all out. These kind of behaviors will be triggered because of this bad relationship with food.
Alhamdulillah, beautiful way to kind of round off the podcast.
Alhamdulillah.
And as promised,
the Mad Honey.
Let's get into Mad Honey quickly, and then because if you don't mind, it's a formal invitation to come on again.
Inshallah.
if you're happy to come on. I'd love
There
to
is
have
there
you
is a
on.
lot to
There's a lot to kind of
talk, yeah.
unpack. So I mean, a few months down the line, inshallah,
Inshallah,
or
yeah.
whatever. Like
There's a lot,
we'll
yeah.
organize. There's a few things I've made some mental notes, inshallah, that I want to
Yeah.
ask you on another podcast.
Yeah.
So if you've enjoyed this, inshallah, hopefully we'll get you
Inshallah.
on again.
Yeah.
So yeah, Mad Honey.
Here's the thing. It has the Mad Honey.
What is it first?
Yeah. So the Mad Honey is this type of a honey that is made by the bees of the Himalayan mountains. That's the Nepalese Mad Honey, because you also have the Turkish Mad Honey as well.
Okay.
There are other places in the world, but it's mainly from Nepal. From my experience, the Nepalese one is something different.
It's chung, yeah.
It's something different. Now, what it is with this, I'm going to specifically just talk about the Nepalese one, because this is the one I've got sort of more experience. I've done more research, and my other stuff is from Nepal as well. So I have direct contact with the people who actually get it.
Right.
And what it is that you have these giant bees of the Himalayan mountain. What they do is that they literally go around the whole of the Himalayan mountains, and they collect nectar from over 36 different type of plants, or even you can call them herbs. Now, they go and collect it, and of course then that's where the honey is made. Now, the reason why the honey, this Mad Honey, has got the reputation to hallucinate you is because of the toxins that's found from a type of a flower which is known as the rhododendron. It's one of the flowers that's also very commonly grown there. So this toxin it's a toxin. It can hallucinate you. So, but think about it, all other plants as well. It's not just the toxin from this specific one type of plant. There's other type of plants that this honey is made from. So what they do now, these honeys, they go and settle on the cliffs of these mountains, and they have their hive there. And then what the people do, they go and they use, you can Google it, you can see for yourself, these crazy tactics of just ladders and ropes to go top of these mountains high, and they collect the hives, and they come down and they get the honey from it, from the honeycomb, and then you get the honey. What's noted here is that it's only in the recent times, and you could say the newer generation, that they're going over there and they're taking it in a way that it could hallucinate you. It's about how much you take. That's where the important thing is here. If you take too much of it, then it can affect you. Then you can hallucinate in a sense. For some people, there's been cases of people not being able to feel their legs. So it can paralyze you from down below for a certain period, 24 hours.
Yeah. 24 hours?
Yeah. That's what this one case was like.
So what about the Islamic permissibility of this? Did you look into it? Did you speak to people?
So I did speak to people.
Okay, right.
And I don't think they want to be sort of...
No, you don't have to, no.
So I spoken to them. I said, first and foremost, I said to them, this is what it is. This is what it can do. And they knew about it before as well.
Okay.
They said it's going to probably take the same ruling as anything else that intoxicates you. But I said to them, okay, and having to spoken to the people who use it, who've traditionally used it for medicinal purposes, they utilize it like this, with this amount, and they recommend for you to take this much. So what if you got somebody like myself who's a healthcare professional who knows about this stuff and knows how to utilize it and give people the safe dosage? What about that? He goes, in that case, it should be okay.
It's like anything.
Yeah.
Because opioids is heroin, basically.
There you
it's
go.
The same thing. Or marijuana, medicinal marijuana.
Yeah.
If it's prescribed, I'm not giving fatwa here. It's just
no, exactly.
You can go and
do your own
research. I'm not here to say not to go and go pick up an eighth from your local drug dealer. Yeah, but I'm saying there are like there's like medicine is poison, isn't it? That's really what it is. It's like there's a fine balance between it being poison and it being therapeutic.
Exactly.
You know, even paracetamol can kill you. Yeah?
Exactly.
If you take the wrong dosage.
Yeah.
So but what? So like obviously you're not taking it to get licked out. Yeah,
No.
I understand that. Yeah, but why are you taking? What's the benefits of it?
Yeah. So first and foremost, this honey is not just from one. It's over 36 different plants that has so many benefits. Second of all, where this honey is produced is far away from the pollution, far away from, it's from wild bees, you know? Majority of the honey that's available to us in the stores and whatever, this is just heated and it's sugar. They stripped off the pollen, stripped off the bee pollen, stripped off the enzymes. All of these things that's meant to be supporting our cardiovascular system, our digestive system, even protein synthesis and things like that. All of this stuff that's meant to be supporting us in so many ways, which you're meant to get the benefits from honey, is stripped off. And then what you end up with is just sugar. That's what's available to us in the stores. But what you have here is pure, organic, natural, unfiltered honey from the mountains, from the bees that go and collect from not just one type of a flower from one area, but the whole vast Himalayas from different types of flowers and plants. Because nectar flow is very important for when it comes to producing honey. And these bees, they're going to collect it over different type of 36 different type of plants. And then it's far away from the pollution. It's not sprayed. None of these plants are sprayed by anything, because it's there's certain carcinogenic chemicals that are sprayed in different kind of farms where honey is also produced. And these bees, they take the pollen and stuff from these flowers and plants, and they produce the honey. This stuff is going inside you as well. Glyphosate is one of them, you know, so it's free of that. And from my opinion, I think this is probably one of the best honeys in the world, but it's about knowing how to take it. What I do, I don't
help with hay fever, bro.
You could possibly. I haven't looked into it in terms of the study, but it's meant to. Like hay fever is it's meant to help with hay fever if you get good quality honey.
And where can we get it, bro?
This stuff you're looking about £200 for about £200 for about more than £200 just for about 200 grams.
Bro, big bits, yeah. Those are some big bits, bro.
If you want the proper natural.
I was moving hard food.
Stuff.
Hard food. This is like cocaine money, bro.
So what I did, I just got one.
Do you want to go halves, bro? So 200 grams.
Yeah.
Two's me.
I just got one.
Yeah,
what I do, I practice from an Ayurvedic medicine point of view.
Yeah.
So I get the mad honey, I mix it with shilajit to multiply the benefits of shilajit.
Right.
So you can get the shilajit, which I just sell on its own, or I get mixed with mad honey. Obviously, there's differences in terms of the price, but in Ayurvedic medicine, it's very common to mix different herbs together, especially honey with things like black seed. You can mix it with ashwagandha. You can mix it with shilajit. And like I say to you, it doesn't matter. As long as your honey is good, it doesn't have to be the mad honey if you want to mix your shilajit.
We want that mad honey vibes, bro. That's what we want. And also, you shouldn't put it on your toast, basically.
No. No, you're only meant to take about half of a tablespoon a day in 24 hours.
Right.
Half.
Yeah. For £200, I'm taking half.
You know, the first time when I opened it and I smelt it, and this, I said in one of my videos, I said it's like you go into a Tesco and there's a wine section that got broken. Somebody dropped it.
Is that what it smells like?
And you can smell like it smells like that.
Subhanallah.
It's nothing like I've smelled before.
What if you accidentally, by purposely, take a little bit too much? What happens?
You're gonna lose feeling in your legs.
Oh, is it?
Yeah.
Okay.
So it's almost like created that you can say negative rep for hallucinating whatever, but people are ignoring
the therapeutic,
all the therapeutic and all the other medicinal properties that it possesses. This honey, and I think it's one of the best honeys in the world.
So you didn't answer my question, bro. Where can we get some of that chung £200?
This is all in Nepal.
Oh, is it? So I have to go to Nepal. What?
I get it imported.
Have you got a link, bro? Come on, man.
I have my links for all this.
Can we get it off you? Are you selling it like?
They only do the
retailing it?
certain. I don't sell the mad honey. No, I only sell the shilajit.
So he's gatekeeping, bro. You're gatekeeping, bro. Okay, we have to talk off air.
Let's talk
off air, inshallah.
However, you can still get the second best thing, which is the Turkish mad honey.
No, I want the listen. We want the
Like,
don't try and hide it. Oh, listen, what we're gonna do? Inshallah, next time you come,
you should get it.
We're gonna put it here. We're gonna both take a teaspoon. Half a teaspoon.
Half of a tablespoon.
Let's take a tablespoon, bro. Me and you.
Okay, fine. Okay.
Yeah, and we see what kind of podcast we're gonna.
No, but you know, for cardiovascular health,
Yeah.
for even sort of for breathing issues,
Yeah.
for your lungs, and for energy, and even for your metabolism.
Yeah.
For the honey, if you can get yourself good
Yeah.
quality honey, one spoon daily, you
Yeah.
can do really good. And that's where I utilize the Turkish mad honey, because
Is that cheaper?
it's cheaper.
Like, is it? How much is it roughly? Like?
You can get delivered to you for about £150 for 1 kilogram of it.
Okay.
Yeah.
That looks like a Friday night sorted, bros.
But I don't want B-Tech honey, fam. I want that
But
mad thing.
the-
Nah, the
this-
mad thing is only for Eid and those kind of days, isn't it? But yeah, you know what I mean. Like very important. Like a teaspoon of honey every day is pound. Especially like I'm not talking about girls, bro. But I remember my mum used to make it, especially in the winter time, isn't it? She used to stuff it in our mouths and kick us out to go to school, bro.
You know,
Yeah.
I treat myself whenever I get cold and stuff like that. I don't go anywhere near medicine. For me, it's all about these things,
MashaAllah.
you know. And one thing I must say, when I've made these differences in my life in terms of looking deep into nutrition and behaving in this way and looking into metabolism, sleep and everything else, the biggest thing I noticed is that you don't get ill as often. Your immune system is a lot better. And what happens when you do get ill, you recover quite quickly as well.
Yeah.
And health is really wealth, because if you're recovering, you don't get ill too much, you're always working then.
Mama bad.
You're not off work too much.
Or you can spend time with your family, bro.
Or you can spend time with your family. Yeah. So these things, you can see that's how important that, you know, the four corners of, you can call it four corners of wealth.
That's
you
it.
know?
MashaAllah.
So how important this is to look at balancing your food, managing your sleep, and then you're looking at your stress levels, and at the same time being physically active. And that sleep, like you said, the Dr. Ammar, like what he's talking about, fantastic, because you're looking at sort of how light affects you, your screen time, and this goes into your circadian rhythm as well. There's a deep component in your brain which is far more important for sleep than melatonin. You know, everybody talks about melatonin and how it affects your sleep, and it's true. But I've heard neurosurgeons talk about how they've cut off the pathways for melatonin, and it's part of the pituitary gland. And what they do is that they sort of cut off the pathways, but the patient still sleeps. However, there's a deep layers in the deep components of your brain as part of your hypothalamus, known as the suprachiasmatic nucleus. When they cut off the pathways from that, the patient does not sleep. That's more important. And guess what affects that more than anything else? Light. And this is all going into your circadian rhythm, artificial light, and the noise pollution. All of this stuff affects it more than anything else. So you can see what he's talking about is absolutely correct. And he's absolutely right about this.
Barakallahu fik. He'd love to hear that, bro, as well. That he's right.
No. Go back to the life of the ancestors.
That's it, bro. That's it.
You know, they slept when it was dark.
That's it, bro.
There was no fridge. Ate fresh, you know. Live like your ancestors. You don't have to go too far for that.
Alhamdulillah.
Alhamdulillah.
Ammar, very, very, very beneficial
Alhamdulillah.
podcast. I appreciate you coming down. Inshallah, we're going to do the Mad Honey episode sometime in the summer.
It will be interesting.
Inshallah, be interested. Maybe you could bring some stuff with you as well, like to kind of ashwagandha, and
we
can go through all those stuff. It'd be really good.
Yeah, like the CMOS, ashwagandha, all of these things.
Yeah, bring all your tricks, bro. Bring your bag.
Yeah.
Just don't get arrested, bro. That's what.
It's perfectly legal in the UK, by the way. No problem. Yeah, interesting.
And the shilajit and all that stuff. It'd be good to bring them down, inshallah, and we can.
And I should also have my favorite. One of my favorite plants is actually turmeric, but it's not your normal turmeric. When you cut it, inside it is blue. It's known as the black rooted turmeric, and that is a turmeric that you've never had. And the properties of that.
But the thing it's going to be like £400 a stick, bro, or something, bro. How much is that?
I don't know. I have to come up. I have to see what my person,
your dealer,
my dealer in Nepal. Yes, everything for me. I've got this connection with Nepal, so everything that I get.
Have you been?
From them? I haven't been, but they keep inviting me. You know.
Okay, mashallah. Listen, if there's a trip for Mad Honey trip, look, we'll do.
That would be crazy.
We'll do a Grappling with Life episode. We'll hopefully someone will edit the videos. All right, guys. Barakallahu fik, Ammar. That's all it. That's it. That's all you get, bro. We don't want to give you too much information and spoil you. Again, if you want to follow Ammar, I'm gonna put the links in the description, inshallah. SPC Therapy. You've also got a clinic as well
Yeah.
in Newham,
Yeah.
and we're going to include the website inshallah in the description. And on that note, I'll see you on the next one.